Going into each of our own freshman year of college, we were thinking about going to classes, going to different schools, maybe getting a job. But Prefontaine was thinking about one thing, the 1972 Olympics in Munich. Prefontaine was a freak runner, and to get into his mind, here's some quotes by Pre. "Somebody may beat me, but they're going to have to bleed to do it. I'm going to work so hard that it's pure guts race at the end, and if it is, I'm the only one who can win." And my favorite, "The best pace is suicide pace, and today seems like a good day to die." Pre wasn't always this crazy about running, this crazy about being an athlete. It wasn't until his freshman year when a conditioning program went to his school, and it was a 3-week program, and they did different types of running, distance running, and Pre caught on. So his freshman year, he ran cross country and was 7th on the team. He went from being 7th on the team to 2nd on the team in a 5-week span, which is dropping time tremendously. He ended up running a 5:01 mile his freshman year of high school. His sophomore year, got 6th at state in cross country, didn't do anything in track very well. But his junior year, went undefeated in cross country, won state, ended up breaking the mile and 2-mile record in track and field. And then his senior year, went undefeated again in cross country, and then broke his own records and ran an 8:41 in the 2-mile and a 4:06 in the mile. That's ridiculously fast, if any of you know that. Nobody had broken 4 at that point, and Pre looked like he was going to be the first one to break 4. Being one of the most highly recruited athletes in the nation at this point, Pre decided to go to the University of Oregon. Not because it was Oregon, but because of Bill Bowerman. Bill Bowerman, in his 24-year career at the University of Oregon, coached 54 All-Americans, 31 Olympians, and won 4 national titles, according to Kenny Moore, author of Bowerman and Men of Oregon, the story of Oregon's legendary coach and Nike's co-founder. He developed the shoe by putting different types of rubber into waffle irons and making what we now call waffle shoes. Hence the name waffle iron. So in this time period, Pre only ever lost 3 races while at Oregon. 3 races, and that's a long time. 4 years, you're going to run almost 60 races. Only lost 3, and they're all in the mile. Coach Bowerman knew it was going to happen this way and wanted Pre to run the 5K. So during this time, Pre raced the 5K and the mile, and Pre won 4 national titles in the 5K, and ended up winning 3 national titles in cross country. Coach Bowerman knew with Pre's type of running, the quote, "Today's the best," the suicide pace. Pre was going to lead from the front and win from the front, and Coach Bowerman won from the 5K. So within this time period at Oregon winning championships, between his junior and senior year was the Munich Olympics. So he had to punch his ticket by going to the Olympic trials. So Pre goes to the Olympic trials, and there's a competitor there wearing a Stop Pre shirt. It said Stop Pre in bold letters with a stop sign on it. Warming up in this shirt, Pre was the fan favorite, but the other competitors, like the top guys, didn't like Pre because of how he raced. So Pre wins the race, and Pre does what Pre does. He grabs the shirt, wears it to his post-conference interview that says Stop Pre on it. Pre punches his ticket to the Munich Games, and he's living his dream at this point. He's going to go win the gold, going to beat Lasse Viren, who's the reigning 5K and 10K champ. That's what he's thinking, right? He's going to go do it. According to Simon Reeve, author of One Day in September, the story of the 1972 Munich Olympic massacre, on September 5th, Palestinian terrorists took 11 Israeli athletes hostage in the Olympic Village. They shot and killed the hostages. 5 of the terrorists were killed, and 1 German officer was killed. This was 5 days before Pre was supposed to race. In Pre's mind, his Olympic journey is over. This is it. They're going to go home. They're not going to race. Pre decides to stay. This is one shot, right? He's going to go do it. This is what he decided to go do. Pre raced and got the bronze, losing to Lasse Viren on the last lap with 200 meters to go. Pre led from the front, and he finished and ended up losing the race because of his racing tactics. Pre was devastated. Pre was mad at himself, thinking, "This is, I lost because of my own thing," when really, how are you going to recover from something that big happening 5 days before? And in the Olympic Village, and how it was set up, it was next door to him. So if this is the building, it's literally across the hall. So this happened. Pre went on to go race for the AAU afterwards. So he gets done, goes back to America. And Pre's going to go race for the AAU because if you wanted to race in the Olympics, you had to be an amateur still. And the AAU controlled only track and field. You could go be a basketball player, football player, pro, but track and field, you had to be an amateur to race for the Olympics. And this wasn't good for any of the athletes because you had to pay for your own stuff, transportation, food, equipment, and you had to go race in areas that you may not want to go race in. But you had to if you wanted to go race in the Olympics. Pre ended up losing his amateur status because of Nike. He gets free stuff from Bill Bowerman. And Pre was okay with this at this point because you're not getting paid by the AAU to go race on these awful meets. It's like going to race here at Hardin-Simmons when you're an Oregon Duck. That's not what he wants to go do. It's not going to get any better. This happens. Pre goes on to go pro, runs for the Oregon Track Club, and ends up holding every American record from the 2K to the 10K, which is ridiculously fast. That's from a little over a mile to right around 6 miles. He was the best man. According to Steve Bintz, author of Steve Prefontaine Without Limits, the night Pre ended up racing his last race would be Pre's last night. Prefontaine set up a prep meet with the Finns, which is Lasse Viren and all these other athletes for the University of Oregon. Pre raced, won the race. That night, after leaving the party, Pre crashed his car into what is now called Pre's Rock. Pre passed away that night and is now the best American racer that never was. Though Pre died on that awful night, his legacy still continues with the Prefontaine Classic. If any of you know what that is, it's the biggest and best track and field event held right before the IAAF championships. Pre's legacy still lives on through those championships and through his crazy form of running. That's it. Thank you.